Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. So, as quick reminder, we were able to defend Fenn's asteroid base from certain destruction last week, essentially turning away Teresia Lex CR-90 Assassin Corvette, and in so doing, sort of ensure its safety. Now, those crew members, right? We got Tarkaza, Fenn, and Telly. They're still on the other side of the galaxy, mopping up, making sure that Fenn's asteroid base is safe. Kel-Sumien Namak was, of course, left back at Spitnir, and with Eeth Koth and Elaiza and the two remaining Holocrons, the idea is for him to go find a copy of the Holocron that was damaged, the Jailer's Holocron, and return it to the Dawn Temple, using it to restore that damaged Holocron. Going actually back, I think, Bo, just because you weren't there, the Dawn Temple was under attack, and once the Gamorra got there, they noted that a very powerful sort of Jedi-assisted cyborg named N.K. Necrosis, as well as two ancient and powerful droids, were attacking the base, and during the assault, not only had a holocron been damaged of the Dawn Temple, but also one of its dark Jedi prisoners had been taken, had been let free. Teresia apparently wanting that dark Force user. So I'd like to know quickly what, if anything, Kel, you're sort of, or Greg, like you can have Kel sort of lead this, moving us forward here. The Dawn Temple is not particularly far from the capital of Reles on Spitnir. It's on the same continent. You know, it's probably about, what we said before, a half an hour travel on land speeder, which the Dawn Temple has. But you also know that Reles is the only real city on the agrarian planet of Spitnir, and so it's the only place where the Imperials have a base. Did you have any ideas for getting back into the Museum of Reles and absconding with this remaining holocron?
I mean, it was a copy of the Holocron, right?
It was a backup of. Yep, exactly. Telly did some searching through the archives and found that a copy had been made.
Well, Kel's not the mastermind spy that others people are, but probably will take from their lead and see if we should probably head to the city, see what see what's going on around, sort of case the joint first, and then sort of make a plan as to how to get in.
Okay. So the land speeder trip would not take very long. The other question would be, as the curator is still around, as well as his companion holocron, they can be transported in small, half-meter wide, or width and high cubes. Who would be sort of keeping these with them?
We're bringing two holocrons, so probably have Eeth carry one and Elaiza the other.
What do you think, Elaiza and Eeth? Are you okay with that?
I'm fine with that. Kel's still a trainee. Shouldn't be handling this important information.
Excellent.
Man,
No faith.
no faith even when he's not here. It's like Fenn's right here with us.
And Casey, I'm sorry. What were you having, Eeth agree or not?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay, very cool. So, Bo, the big idea here with these holocrons is that there were nominally 3 of them: the warden, the jailer, and the curator. And these 3 holocrons worked in tandem when the Old Republic was at its height in order to keep rehabilitated Dark Jedi sort of under watch, but also ensure that their recovery and their redemption happened succinctly. So the warden, of course, appearing as a female Zabrak, and it was her who was responsible for the security of it. The jailer was actually the most approachable of the gatekeepers, and appearing as a short, elderly alien. It's the jailer who was lost and damaged during the attack, which leaves you playing this week with the warden and the curator, the final 3, appearing as an elder Sarian male. You've got some skills to use, but they kind of represent the aggregate of these 2 holocrons, and really, it's up to you, Bo, whoever you want to play. You can sort of, like, you know one of you is in Eeth's hands, the other one of your characters is in Elaiza, since you're being carried in these little cubes. Little, I guess, dodecahedrons. And since that's the case, you can sort of be wherever you want to assist as you will, right? So you've got the most sort of freedom here as a player tonight.
Copy that.
Right on. Very good. Okay, so Elaiza and Eeth would want quickly to travel out. I don't suspect Kel would have any reason to do anything other than that. So the land speeder, we'll say it's very early afternoon, perhaps 1 o'clock. The large sun is just breaking over Mount Teliac, shining into the valley of the Dawn Temple. It would be beautiful for not the tension that hangs in the air with your important mission to restore the jailer and the Dawn Temple to its full functionality. Who's driving the land speeder?
Kel will drive.
Right on.
Probably the only one that has skill in it.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know if Elaiza or Eeth are accomplished pilots. Thankfully, though, the plains of Spitnir are relatively empty and open, and they allow that quick, under an hour travel to Reles, the capital of the city. The capital of the whole planet, rather. You arrived a little bit in the early afternoon, and notice immediately that where before the open architecture of the city was pretty inviting, it is actually now much more locked down. Not that there's walls that have been suddenly erected everywhere, but simply that there's a lot more Imperial presence, and even a few banners of the Stormtroopers logo unfurled over local buildings. Of course, though, as it goes with our Sunday games, we always forget to roll the Force die, so let's do that and get a pool of those hero points going.
Oh, we're doing well. Wow.
Kind of rough start.
Everybody gave the other side points.
so. Well, it is what it is. For those of you unaware, in Star Wars, the role-playing game, every session we roll a force die, generating a pool of hero points that can be used. The dark side by the GM, the light side by the heroes, so their results were not particularly notable. Alright. So, a lot of opportunity for me to use some and give them back, I suppose, right? So, the capital of Relis seems to be far more infested with the Empire. Small groups of stormtroopers, squads of them, less than a dozen, march through the streets. You also notice several of their armored land speeders with some of the groups. Business as usual in Relis continues, with civilians walking around the streets. You can also see among the stormtroopers, but does Kel want to take any particular precaution as he goes through, or how indeed does he pilot this land speeder with holocrons and Jedi towards the University of Relis and then the museum inside of it?
We fly casually. I mean, we're just going to try and get into the city as normal, not do anything too crazy. Try not to draw attention to ourselves.
All right. So do me a favor and give us a little montage here of sort of the outskirts of Reles all the way to the university itself. You can have as detailed or as vague as you'd like.
Well, we'll just once we hit the city from the plains, just slide into line if there is a line of vehicles to get into the city. Take one of the smaller entrances if they have that. It's not a walled city, right?
Correct. There's no wall to speak of. Very open layout as well.
Yeah, so then we'll slide into, like, not on one of the main thoroughfares, more like slide in on the outskirts, zip through the streets, the back streets, lower end part of the city, just trying to slip in incognito and slowly, maybe taking back alleys, sliding up, stopping, looking around to see, make sure there's no Imperial blockade at an intersection. If there is, sort of, take back streets around that. But generally, as straight as possible, a line through the lower end part of town until we can head towards the university.
Awesome. So you're really trying to minimize the time here. Fair enough.
Yeah. And not look like we're, you don't pull up two cars behind the checkpoint, then quickly make a U-turn or anything.
Absolutely right. And so to be fair, thank you for mentioning, we more or less avoid any checkpoints. It's not so much that the city has been locked down or there's some sort of martial law, just that there's far more stormtroopers than you remember just several months ago. However, Kel's able to get through the streets more or less directly, avoiding any Imperial entanglements as necessary. It's not too long before he parks the land speeder just to the north. And as you'll remember, I've shared the map, Kel, and he could have easily informed Elaiza, Eeth, and the holocrons of this, is aware of the museum. It starts in two portions. This large, bluish-hued is the actual archives and museum itself. It's got, various benches for those, imperial appointees to come and marvel at all the arts and museum artifacts that have been recovered. But it also has a second section over a walkway suspended about 15, 20 meters in the air, pretty darned high. And that section is actually adjoined to the governor's mansion herself, Governor Hall. She, an imperial appointee, is quite sort of a patron of the arts, and always loved the access that her manor gives her. And so she houses, gratefully for the planet of Spit here, on behalf of the Empire, she houses the most treasured relics within her own private wing of the museum. University students are allowed to come and do research on it, but as Kel approaches, he easily notices, as does everyone else, signs that say Museum of Relics, closed to public access.
I thought that was going to be an issue. Kel will also inform, Eeth and Elaiza that, they might not have been here, but we have, and the Imperial, the count of Imperials has risen.
I'm assuming you made another splash like you did at the auction.
Nah, it wasn't anywhere near that bad.
Oh, I guess it must have been enough for them to shut down this museum.
Perhaps.
And for a quick reminder, the idea being that before, when the Dawn Temple was actually discovered by Kel as a resource he could use to gain membership to the Jedi Order, one of their holocrons had already been stored in the Museum of Relics, so you're sort of, trying to get it back, as it were, a second time.
Yeah, this is where the holocron was in the first place.
And here you are again as well. All right, so, Kel would drive the land speeder to there. Obviously, you've noted that there's not public access. You remember there being 3 distinct entrances to the Museum of Relics. The main to the north, a large one in a patio to the back. Then you also, when you were in here the first time, saw a small employee patio to the very southwest sort of tucked in corner that might allow access as well. Does anybody have any ideas on how that might go?
Well, does Eeth and Elaiza think they could, 15 meters? Yeah, that's 30-ish feet. That's a pretty large jump.
It is a pretty large jump. It'd be hard to get there even from those bushes, the tops of them. It would be much easier to sort of like break in one of the doors and then go up those stairway. Yeah.
I mean, I could move us up there, but that would probably take some time.
We also don't know where the holocron's being stored, or the data, at least.
Yep, and of course, our computer people are not here.
Bo, do you want to do the holocrons, the curator, and the warden? Do either of them have any abilities you might want to use to help the party here? You can check your skill tab and reply as needed.
Yeah, I have some skills in computers, a lot of knowledges, skullduggery, perception. So I can be useful if we need to get in somewhere.
And so there's these 3 doors. How do you want to use these holocrons?
Um, Definitely would probably want to see if maybe there's some computer access to unlock these back doors instead of trying to go through the front.
So you all hear the curator and warden sort of simultaneous suggestion. If you get me close to those back doors, I might be able to get us in without being so obvious. Does anybody have any plans to help, because you've got to get the holocrons there for them to even interface with any possible connections? Are there any ideas to go from the parking lot, as it were, and your land speeder to the back doors and do so inconspicuously?
No, I mean, we could just walk around the path. Act like we're taking a picnic.
It's a museum, right?
It's a museum, but we can't get into the museum.
Yeah, it's closed to the public, but researchers at the university, interns and the like, can come in. And it is more or less public land, but it's that kind of public land on the border of the White House where you're kind of like, I know it's a national mall, but I probably wouldn't want to blunder into it.
I don't know. We can probably make a stakeout in this public seating area up north. Unless that's also closed off.
While there's no one there, it looks free enough. There's no sign saying no public entry. They're really talking about the doors to the museum.
Building itself, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
If we sit there and see if we can find some researchers either to get them to help us or we get their credentials to let ourselves in.
So, does Kel remember where any data access points would have been that the holocrons could access? Or those just be the things inside, nothing outside? I think it's discipline. That's a lot of 8s, but nothing's come up yet.
Yeah, we'll see what does.
There we go.
Yeah. You easily get 1 success and 2 advantages. How does Kel sort of remember these facets? Any ideas there?
He's just going to be remembering the last time we came through here. I remember there was a when just basically remembering something that pops into his mind of we could have used that.
I love that. Perfect. Yeah, like a little bit of buyer's remorse, so to speak, about it. It all clicks together, and he realizes there's an access panel somewhere on the south.
Yeah, basically, maybe as we were crossing that sky bridge, looking down to that patio, it was like, oh, we could have just come in through the back door instead of trying to go through the front.
Love it. No, perfect. So you know that at the back door near that little luncheon, there's a sort of an exposed, it's much like a circuit breaker, but allows access to the actual computer system itself. Likely a security flaw, but one that's been overlooked even with the recent upgrades.
So Kel informs the team about that. Says maybe we can just take a walk through the park and head around back looking at the bushes until we find that. And hopefully no one's back there for us to run into.
I would say Eeth Koth kind of knowing a little bit about some stealthier and streetwise ways of going about this is instructs everyone to walk with purpose. When we are on the grounds, like no one's going to question us if we look like we know what we're doing. I'm really trying to get us some sort of stealth roll here.
Yeah, no, I actually do appreciate that. I think that that's a really good idea. What if we roll, or someone is going to roll a stealth check, and everybody else is going to sort of assist her? It sounds like, Casey, you're having Eeth Koth position himself for maybe some sort of, I don't know, leadership, charm. You could even do deception as you're not really supposed to be there, but you're acting like you are. What do you think here?
Let's do a charm. I feel like we're in an academic crowd here, and charm and knowledge goes a long way. Let's do that.
Awesome. Let's do a charm roll. So that's going to be 3 difficulty, and roll away.
Sorry, was anyone going to bonus me on that before I roll?
Yeah.
You are bonusing
okay.
other people. Apologies.
Understood.
Yeah. Yep, you're given the support here. That's why we're doing it first. Very good. Wow. Pretty darned strong roll. 5 successes. A couple of threats that maybe you'll have to explain for us. But how do you think Eeth goes about this? How do you think he succeeds so well? And what do you think the exact sort of benefits are to whomever is going to be rolling this stealth check?
Sure. So Eeth is used to serving on councils, of which we know that universities and academies have several. And so we walk with purpose, have a really wonderful presence. We're not really trying to hide behind bushes or anything. And when we do encounter people who cross our path, we engage in wonderful conversation. Oh, what a wonderful day it is, and kind of really pass off any curiosities through confidence and charm. So with the threats, I'm assuming maybe we might raise a couple questions, but I don't know what that would come to.
You're raising a little bit of suspicion. Perhaps we can say that while Eeth moves confidently and assists the group in having his own confidence sort of affect how people perceive Elaiza and Kel, walking around a museum which has been closed to the public, no matter how confidently you do so, still comes with some inherent risk. And Eeth suffers a couple points of strain as he notices that cameras are still moving to sort of watch them. Even automatic as they may be, the security system itself is taking note. The rest of the party, Casey's sort of jumped on board. She's ready to assist, but does anybody actually want to take the main and the rest of you know that you're assisting? Does anybody have any ideas there? The idea is going to be a stealth check supported by those other two characters.
How's your stealth, Kel?
It's 5 green dice.
Got 2 yellow, 1 green. I think I can assist you then.
Yeah, there's no, Greg, you don't have any problems with that?
Nope.
All right, excellent. So how do you think Elaiza's going to assist, in it with any skill? What is she doing here?
Well, with all her time like hiding on Cloud City, she's more familiar with avoiding the cameras and not drawing attention. She's going to try to observe the cameras without being noticed and see their range of motion and kind of guess their effective viewing range.
Excellent. Okay, cool. So same difficulty that Eeth just rolled, hard, 3 difficulty, and you'll be rolling, I think, a stealth check.
Oh, I was thinking perception.
Cool, there you go. Very good. And give us how that succeeds. Valid. How? What are we doing here?
Well, I guess she's seen these cameras before on Cloud Cities and has even tinkered with some probably at some point, and more or less knows their range of motions and their field of view.
Awesome. Okay. And Bo, you've got these holocrons. What do you think? How are they going to either assist this eventual stealth check or simply get it done themselves?
I was thinking to help us kind of blend in as kind of academics, I could be, spouting off like some knowledgeable jargon about what the museum holds. Maybe it's architecture. What exhibits would be inside if we had access to it.
Or on a self-guided tour.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
something
Okay,
like
cool. No, that's very good. And so, what skill were you thinking of using?
Either something like knowledge education or knowledge lore.
Yeah, either one. Go for it.
3 difficulty.
Sort of same deal here, where obviously you succeed and you're going to be granting a number of boost die for Kel's roll, but that threat is going to deliver some strain. And how do you think that happened?
Possibly like the facts I'm spreading out aren't probably 100% accurate, and it's probably bringing attention to some others, experts walking by like, that's not quite right. It just kind of brings some awareness to it.
Awesome. And so there's a little bit of the idea of, did someone catch me in a lie there? And I think that's really kind of fun for a holocron to feel. Very good. All right. So, Kel, you're leading the group, and you've received the help from both Eeth, Elaiza, and the Holocrons, as they've mentioned. How are you going to get us forward to where I put your token? And how are you describing this stealth that you're undertaking?
Okay, is that better?
Mhm.
Okay, great. We're going to be doing more of a hide in plain sight thing where we're stealthing through, but using the perception checks to stop at certain points to point out a certain item, or over on that side of the field is where such and such happened at a certain time, that we stop then when when the cameras are swinging past. We would stop and mention something, act as if we're talking about something else until the cameras swing the other way so we can walk again.
Excellent. No, I actually really think that's a perfect description of it. And we'll have it be like a pretty nice day outside. The sun is shining rather high, the star illuminating a significant amount of this continent of Relis, right? It's early in the afternoon. And so there's perfect reason for people to be out in this beautiful agricultural world enjoying the nice weather. So yours is going to be a stealth check. You're going to get 7 boost die, but I'm going to upgrade it once. And you're going to have to roll 1 challenge die and 2 difficulty along with yours.
Okie dokie. I know 7 boost dates seem like a lot. Should I upgrade it? What do you guys think?
Go for it.
All right, we're gonna.
Yeah.
All right, we'll give you that chip back.
Nice. How nice of you.
I knew it because I saw 2 12s come up.
All right, so you sort of know the deal. You got a lot of successes there, and successes generally sort of cut that time down or add an additional person who is, persuaded by the stealth, right? So you obviously get the security people, whoever they might be, the employees, whomever they might be, and you can sort of extend it to those other groups, and then sort of do it a little bit faster, not taking so much time if that's something to be needed for you. The advantage you can use to sort of give yourself a bonus in the future here on a future roll that you might be making once you're already in the door, or perhaps just breaking through the door itself. And then you've got that triumph, which I think you should use to give yourself a pretty big boon. And I'll think about the despair while you kind of think about and tell us what this all might be.
Okay, so things seem to be going our way as we're walking about. Elaiza's, Elaiza will stop and hold up, the holocron in her hand will start talking. She'll indicate to it, so it'll start talking every time the camera sort of swings our way so that our backs are to it. It's not recording our faces, but we're talking about some actual thing, that fountain up to the north or that the other building to the east, what happened at this day, on this day 5 years ago. All seems very natural. And as we sweep around to the back, it just everybody seems to be buying it. Just casual people walking around the building talking in an academic way. And then the triumph, could the triumph be that, hey, this back door is unlocked and open?
Having just finished much of the lunch hours, the employees, for whatever reason, have left the back door open, and thus you find it sort of air conditioning blowing outwards, and you're able to enter easily. We'll say marching order is sort of vague here, but as the party moves through that first hallway, they get about, what is it? Yeah, about 18 feet, right? 19 feet. 6 meters, about medium range from the door. And suddenly, staring at them from across the hall, is an intern. Human, obviously, but young, inexperienced, data pad in his left hand. His right hand holds some sort of tablet pen that sort of manipulates the data pad. He's clearly been spending the morning, if not all of the afternoon, archiving this extensive museum. But he's looking straight at Kel, and he clearly sees Elaiza and Eeth Koth, of course, both holding holocrons within their hands. What do we kind of think we want to do table talk wise? Because we might have to roll initiative if people try to act quickly, but if you're trying to just sort of chat with him, then we might not. So what do we think here?
Let's just chat with him and act like nothing's wrong. We're supposed to be here, right? It's following Eeth's plan of we're supposed to be here and we're just walking through. What do you guys think?
It should work. He's a intern, you said, right? Yeah, we can talk to him. I'm pretty sure we can convince him we belong here.
What do you say, Kel? What is your sort of first initial knee-jerk reaction?
Same thing. Casual day, walking through. We're supposed to be here. Wait to see if he buys that or if he, says something to us.
That's awesome. I love that. So let's get you on that. I think that either maybe a deception or a stealth check, whichever you'd like to do, would be appropriate. So Kel would be sort of walking with purpose, leading the group, and we'll get to where in a moment. Elaiza, Eeth, while Trackus thinks of some ideas for what he's going to be rolling. Do you have any ideas to assist him in that?
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking maybe if we're approached, we could play it off as like we're from like a sister institution visiting, and that's the only reason why you haven't recognized us. And of course, someone of your stature might not be informed of external visitors for the day.
That's really good. So perhaps like the conversation that Eeth is bringing up while you walk is just sort of like above this intern. You're talking not just about academics, you're also talking about the particulars of, administration of universities, right? The funding of them. All these sort of meta discussions that go above someone like an intern. And so we've got kind of how Eeth is going to be. What about the holocrons? It's you, Bo, or Elaiza for Valid here?
I was thinking maybe I could start talking like I'm um, welcoming them as an esteemed guest of, the Empire's governor and stuff like that, and so that it just seems like, again, we're supposed to be here. We're welcome guests.
Excellent. I love it. Valid, any ideas?
I was thinking of speaking more as like a deterrent type thing, like speaking out loud, like we're from this other university, and that the researchers here seem to be slacking with their interns, and maybe some of them should be let go and kind of cut down these numbers and like kind of coerce him to not engage us and keep his head down to not be a target of this not ridicule belittling.
The cost-cutting enterprise and all that.
Yeah.
That's that again. Amazing stuff here. So we've got some, a little bit of hostility from Elaiza's criticism, and then some pure sort of making sure the role is played by both the Holocrons and Eeth Koth. So, Kel, do you got any ideas on if you're sort of doing the diplomacy, charm route, or if you're really more doing that lying sort of deception kind of thing?
Definitely doing the charm coercion route than the deception route. Is even more of the we're supposed to be here, the discussing the with one of them discussing the administration and how the place is run, and the other one talking about how costs are high here, and maybe they need to get rid of some staff because too many people are too lax, and the Empire doesn't like doesn't like spending money where they can't afford to, or just spending extra money for no reason, but just keeping the conversation sort of light and not specifically directed at any one person, not saying any specific names.
Absolutely, I love it. Great. So I think it's going to be a hard check. I'm going to upgrade it once. And so I think that the Holocrons are going to have the hardest chance here. So let's get, Bo, let's get your check out. It'll be 2 difficulty, 1 challenge die, and I'm going to add a setback die, simply because the Relez intern here, who's staring straight at Kel, is going to have a little bit of a hard time ignoring the fact that 2 Holocrons are also speaking. It's very noticeable. If you're trying to be ignored, that's a pretty noticeable action. So whenever you're ready, go ahead and roll. Okay, so this is a mediocre performance, but nothing that literally ruins it for the party, right? You're not stumbling over your foot in front of a troll. You're simply making your way and not giving any boost die to Kel's eventual assist. So how do you think that happens here, Bo?
So as I'm spouting off like this message of welcome from the Empire, the other group is just kind of just over talking me, and just the intern doesn't really hear me anyway. It's just like background noise to the situation.
Awesome. That makes perfect sense to me. Elaiza, you've got your sort of criticism going on here. And so go ahead and roll. It's going to be the same roll, but no setback die.
Oh, nice.
Obviously, you take a strain from the action, but what do you think happens here?
I guess as I'm criticizing the area, like I would casually mention a department that the intern is a part of, and so that makes him like keep his head down and try to hurry off.
Excellent. Okay, great. And so that's obviously going to add a boost die to Kel's roll, but also an upgrade. All right, Eeth Koth, Casey, what are you thinking?
Has the intern hurried off, or?
No, the intern is still there, and we're sort of moving past him, going towards the stairs to the south.
Sorry, I'm just checking my skills. I'm thinking, and I am speaking before I've gotten to that skill yet, but I'm thinking that Eeth Koth has a pretty decent, confidence, and maybe takes up some room as we walk past, forcing this intern to move aside for us. Otherwise, he would get kind of body slammed as we walk past.
Sure. Okay, great. So what are you thinking for a skill? It's going to be the same 2 difficulty, 1 challenge die.
I don't know. I'm trying to look for a presence skill, but I don't see one that's jumping out. Maybe leadership. Let's do leadership.
Okay, very good. I love it. So you're leading the group forward and, of course, showing your authority over the intern. Oh,
Quite a number of ones.
so I think it's fair to say that the intern, so stunned by the procession, just gets shoulder checked by Eeth, nearly toppling as he does, and instead of paying less attention, staring at the floor, he actually gets a pretty good view of the lot of you. So Kel, you're moving,
This was excellent doing business with you. Now,
straight across.
please be about your work.
And in moving straight across, you've got the help from the Holocrons, Elaiza, and just a wee bit of penalty from Eeth. That's 1 boost die, 1 upgrade, and 1 setback die to whatever it is you end up rolling.
And I'm guessing this is going to be basically the same thing, just a charm roll. As we walk by, just sort of nod at that guy and keep on walking.
Love it. Excellent.
So it's 1 boost, 1 setback, and what's the difficulty?
2 difficulty, 1 challenge. And then you're
And you
upgrading
get
your skill
upgrade.
once. Yep, thank you, Jacob.
Okay, and can I use the advantage from the previous roll at all on this?
I was, waiting for you to sort of you can use those 6 advantage throughout several of the rolls in the future. So if you want to use them now, let's do it. And I think 3 boost die or something like that is fine.
Yeah, I think I'm going to use 2 of them now.
Okay, cool, great. Yourself boost die. How do you think you're sort of using the previous situation to do it, to help you out here?
Again, he saw us walk in from the back entrance, so that sort of gives a little bit more confidence as to, we didn't wander through the front door. We came in from the back patio, and Kel, one of the things we'll mention is, that we're just returning from lunch from the back patio as well. Again, reinforcing, we just had lunch with some of the staff out back, so we're supposed to be here.
Awesome. No, that's perfect. And despite the fact that Eeth sort of shoulder checked, the old middle school move, this poor intern, you make your way up the stairs and begin to move. So go ahead and make your roll. Because eventually there might be an alarm setting off here if we ever get any poor rolling out of our heroes. Okay, I just don't know if it's enough. Perhaps the intern has spent so long without, much like the COVID lockdown, right? Like, he's never seen anybody in the entire museum for months now, for 2 months, 90 whole days in the Star Wars universe. He's never seen another person here. The governor occasionally takes some dignitary or another, but he's not allowed to witness it. And so all of a sudden, there's these 3 folk, one of them shoulder checks him, and he's just a wee bit suspicious. You make it up and around, gawking at the wonders of the Reles Museum. And maybe along the turn, you notice that the intern has gone beyond sight. And that, I think, is when you would hear a sort of singular bleep ring out over the intercom. The lights turn dark, and it's pretty obvious that the alarm would have erupted out. So you're just checking to make sure nothing crazy happens, and I don't actually think it does. So that's it. We'll say that instead of a nice white hue, right, the kind of a light pattern that you'd enjoy for viewing museum artifacts, those are cut. All that's left is sort of security lighting that shines from above. And there's that singular tone that shines out, that comes out through the speakers. But beyond that, there's no real indication that anything has happened. Of course, knowing what the 3 of you are up to, the 4 of you are up to, you're concerned nonetheless. So, what are we doing now?
Did he just turn the lights off on us?
Not sure.
Okay, well, I think at this point we should just, since it's dark and only the security lighting is on, we should hustle to the area we're supposed to be going to.
Awesome. So there's that. Of course, it separates the museum from the governor's manor itself. Unfortunately, it seems that it was more than just the lights, as after a moment or two you turn the corner, looking across the walkway. It's open to the air, the nice spit-near afternoon wafting in. But across the way is an incredibly thick security door, one that likely bars your entrance or prevents entirely your ability to move into where the holocron is kept. Beyond the darkened illumination of the museum, you can't tell any difference. No security forces at the very least. But you're, within short range, just beyond, so medium range from the door, and it looks particularly thick. What are our plans to get through it and to get past it?
I mean, a steel door shouldn't be too much of a problem with 3 people that have lightsabers.
Well, if we don't mind just destroying this place, it might be the only way in. But if we can, if we can get in and out without wrecking the place, maybe a little better.
That's for the greater good.
Yeah, but we're not trying to, we're not taking anything. So if we sneak in and sneak out, and they go in and look, and there's nothing missing, maybe they'll just blow it off, or maybe they'll think, "Oh, we never went in there." If we cut through it with lightsabers, when Tracy Elect comes back, she's going to know we were here.
I could attempt computers. Maybe we try it for a quick second. If I can't get through, then we just kind of push through with force.
That sounds, if everyone's okay with that, Greg, it sounds like you're on that sort of train already. What computers check? How do you think Eeth would use the computers? Which ones would he access? Where's the control panel? All those details. What are you thinking here, Casey?
Well, I guess I wonder, does anyone else have skullduggery? I have a 4 green die in skullduggery if we try.
Same here.
I have 2 yellows and 2 greens.
2 green.
Was that the holocrons that had 2 yellows, 2 greens?
Yep.
Alright, so Eeth Koth, who has one of these holocrons on his person, kind of maybe we can work together to kind of get this, make an attempt here and use your skullduggery for that door.
Indeed.
All right, so then it's up to you, Eeth. You got to sort of, describe whether or not the panel is on this side or that side of the walkway. You've got to sort of tell us how you get over there and what you do to interface with it. And while you think about that, take a moment. What we'll do is ask everybody else what they're thinking about to assist or perhaps help. So who's got an idea first?
Elaiza, I'm thinking since she has another holocron, she can kind of maneuver it around and keep it steady as it's looking over the door and know how to crack it open. I think vigilance.
keeping an eye out.
3
So
difficulty,
important.
1 challenge, right?
That's right. 3 difficulty, 1 challenge with upgraded from the destiny point. We're going to get into these assists.
Oh, that was a good one.
Good 12. Yeah, there you go. So you still manage, though you're going to take a couple stress. I'm going to say that the strain is actually from a short circuiting. The holocron that you've got in your hand, the curator, it feels particularly adventurous, reaches into one of the panels of a nearby artifact, actually shorts it, and shocks Elaiza for a couple points. But you've still got the assist that's going to grant a boost die, the special that's going to grant an upgrade. How do you think that happens? Excellent. The idea being that there's several, and that Elaiza actually bypasses one entirely with her vigilance on this holocron being placed. Wonderful. So, Kel, Eeth, any ideas here? Or sorry, Kel or the other holocron?
Across the bridge here. To make sure that we're sneaking across, being quiet, looking out to make sure we're not being spotted. Sort of just help with the sneakiness of the group before we get to the door.
Awesome. Yep, go ahead. Same roll.
That's 3 hard and 1 challenge.
That's right. Yeah, pretty darn difficult one, as this is entering the governor's manor, and so she's got security, up the wazoo.
Alright, I'm going to use the last boost die from the previous roll. And... So yeah, he just basically makes sure everybody, sort of keep our heads down, not be fully standing up as we're move across this walkway since it's open aired, so that maybe some people, any people from the ground won't be able to see us while we rush over to the door and start doing our thing to get in.
Love it. And what about you, Bo? You've got these holocrons, one of them being held steady by Elaiza, the other one with Eeth Koth himself. What do you think?
Maybe trying to use maybe vigilance to identify exactly what panel we're supposed to be doing, because I see the other holocron kind of, zapping Elaiza with reaching into a different panel. I'd want to make sure that we're getting into the right one, so we're not wasting any time.
Awesome. Okay, great. Go ahead.
So I'm able to see the actual control panel for the door. It's kind of hidden behind like a false like panel, and I'm able to point it out and speed up the actual unlocking process.
Excellent. Okay, great. So then we've got Eeth here. You see Cal obviously rush across the walkway, still considerable meterage above the fall. the holocron in Eliza's hand being steadied, as well as your own, able to manipulate what electronic systems might access this door. What do you think you want to do here?
Okay, so I'm ends up being the one who rolls. I think I'm gonna do skullduggery.
Excellent. And where do you? So is Eeth sort of manipulating space over here? Where is he and what exactly is he doing?
So I guess carrying the holocron, right? This is the one that was like, I don't know, the warden or something.
Exactly. It was the warden, so responsible for the actual sort of rehabilitation of the Dark Jedi.
Cool. So I guess through kind of talking with this holocron, and as we're looking through, we find this panel. We go over to it, and through talking, maybe the warden kind of also reveals some thoughts about how the facility was secured, and maybe there's some insight there as well that helps with this. This one charge I had always would sneak out and do this to the door. And so we're gonna try that to kind of open the door.
Awesome. So it is going to be the same difficulty that you see your companions rolling there. You are going to get 3 boost die and 2 upgrades to your skill from their triumphs and from their successes.
All right, so I'm gonna roll computers actually, and then I get 3 boost, 1 upgrade. That's it, right?
I'm sorry, you get 5 boosts. I didn't even count Bo's Holocron's assist. 5 boost, 2 upgrades. That's a pretty good roll. Obviously, Eeth's pretty darn good with computers, or at least his buddies are. Despite the fact that you still have some, the difficulty gave you some challenge. But how do you think Eeth actually gets around this, and what do you think he does? He do it particularly fast with the 5 successes, or particularly flashy and well with them?
I think it actually goes really well. We're going smoothly. There's no need to rush, but this kind of back and forth I'm having with the holocron of recalling certain things and etc. Puts everyone in a great mood, and we're kind of ready to keep going, morale up. We're doing well.
Okay, that's awesome. So I think that's really explanative, and so I think you've got 2 strain on you right now. Go ahead and reduce those because you got 2 advantage. And since you're talking about how the experience is particularly calming, that's really great. So you sort of explained your own result there. That's awesome. While Eeth is doing this is taking moments of time, right? So Kel obviously rushing across the way, the walkway. Elaiza helping with her own holocron on the inside. And then Eeth finally rushing across with his own holocron to actually break through the reinforced door. Unfortunately, something Eeth does, or perhaps something one of his companions did, in combination with the alarm already set by the intern, sets off a strange event. Suddenly, mechanical whirring can be heard from behind you, and the walkway begins to recede. It doesn't recede immediately, dropping Kel and Eeth, but it does, and it's obvious that it will do so pretty quickly. Thankfully, Eeth is able to use his results to get through. But both he and Kel are going to have to wait until pretty last moment to both duck underneath the raising security door and leap through, avoiding the dropping of the walkway. So I'm going to need both of you to roll a 3 difficulty coordination check in order to avoid falling. Elaiza, of course, and her own holocron are safe on the inside, but still, about medium distance from their companions. Oh, Kel. Of all the rolls to fail, right? Make sure I go ahead, sorry.
Just said dice are going to be dice.
Yeah, fair enough. You know, feel free to reduce a strain because you are going to fall. Falling in Edge of the Empire is actually kind of crazy, man. I don't know if you've ever checked the core rulebook about it, but it's like a nutty thing. You end up sort of taking critical hits if you fall like medium range or above. You're thankfully.
I was going to ask, does Elaiza have the force move to catch him or try to catch him?
She does, as does Kel. If Elaiza would like to, I think a destiny point would probably need to be spent in order to sort of achieve that level of like interruption of the events.
Yeah, I'll spend it.
Awesome, love it. So spend the destiny point and then tell us how Elaiza sort of like uses her force power to catch Kel falling. And it's like described, right? So Eeth Koth, with his 2 successes, crouches down, diving under the raising security door from the receding walkway with his holocron in hand. Eeth is not so lucky, likely because he's just a little bulkier guy. He's got to wait until a little bit of a longer point for the security door to raise, and ends up just losing footing at the last moment, not being able to shove himself forward, and instead tumbling backwards down towards the bushes. Elaiza, you do what to stop this?
Well, after she heard the mechanical sound, she would set down her holocron and mentally prepare herself in case one of her allies needs the help or extra push. Seeing as Kel is starting to fall, she'll try to use her force to try to gently pick him back up and get him through that doorway.
Awesome. So you've got 3 force rating, and we'll have you roll a coordination check as well. 3 difficulty dice, in conjunction with the move power. And that's sort of representing the reflex that you need to catch Kel and fling him back up here.
Uh-oh. Oh, those were... okay. Oh yeah, to turn the force dice into successes? Another chip. Okay. Apparently she hasn't used this power on a person for a while, so when she tries to catch him, she doesn't get a good enough grip, but grabs enough, like his foot, and then just tries to swing him up by his foot just spinning him through the air.
Excellent. So, Kel, you sort of are flung, right? Like you've done to many an adversary, but by an ally through the ever-increasing doorway. At this point, by the time that Kel's in there, tumbling through next to Eeth, the walkway has entirely receded, leaving behind it a void between Kel, Eeth, and Elaiza, right? The void is about medium range. It's 4 meters just beyond short range, okay? Representing the short band, that short. Elaiza, do you have any ideas for getting over? Or do Kel, Eeth, or the Holocrons have any ideas to get her here? So far, and we can describe the museum behind you, but there's nothing really of note going on in the room.
Well, I mean, Kel can use his force move to draw her across.
She could try to get a running start at it to kind of help the force. Just kind of help Kel just guide her over, and rather than picking up her and moving her.
Yep, got it. Cool.
I already did one.
right. We are going to take a quick break here. About 10 minutes while we get our drinks, refresh ourselves, and then we're going to get into how y'all as heroes get over both these droid echas and the sudden gap between you and Elaiza.
All right, then.
Excellent, y'all. See you in a few. All right, everybody. We've got a couple back. Who's all here?
I'm back.
I'm back.
I mean,
Okay, awesome. Perhaps everybody but Cal. And that's easy enough to not remedy, but move around. It is going to be the first round of what is essentially a combat. Not essentially, it really is. We've got these two droid echas. They've just rolled out. And not only have they rolled out of the hallway to the east, they've arrayed themselves, weapons bristling, against Eeth and Kel to the north. We've got initiative rolled, and so we know that our party is going to be acting first. Potentially I need 2 of them before the actual enemies are going to be able to go. So who wants to go first here? Elaiza could obviously attempt to get across. The Holocrons could help in whatever way that they want to. And then, of course, Eeth and Kel are free to assault these droidekkas themselves. Whoever takes it on the combat tracker, they can go first and start telling me what they do.
Eliza can try to jump across, at least try to help out if she makes it by herself.
Alright, select your character. Let's get it done. It's going to be coordination check. And given that it's medium distance, geez, it's hard. It's tough. Probably 2 difficulty, 1 challenge die for her to get across with the coordination check.
Alright.
So you can use this force skill move, and you'll do the same coordination check plus the force, and you'll be able to use that to basically make it succeed.
Yeah, by spending a chip, right?
Yep, for these sort of story encounters, exactly. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh. I think I can use that advantage to get someone else a boost next person in turn. What do you guys think?
Probably gonna need you over there.
Alright then, I'll spend them.
Excellent. So you're spending 2 destiny points to make it a success, utilizing the dark side of the force and getting across. How do you think that looks here?
Oh, she's not too sure about it, like fairly nervous about her jump. But she'll try to make a running jump for it and try to use the force to help her move across to help her allies and probably get. I think she wants revenge on the Empire, as I remember what I read.
Yeah, she uses that motivation to get her across even further. That's how she sort of takes that dark side. Love it. That's really great, Ballad. So go ahead and end your turn here, and thank you. So, Eeth, you're on the other side. With a quick maneuver, you could grab that lightsaber strapped on your hip. Track us if you're back. We could obviously have Kel do something similar. And Bo, if you've got any ideas for the Holocrons to take advantage of, hell, we could do that now too.
I could.
It's a maneuver to draw your weapon, but once you do, the lightsaber animates and shows its blue blade.
I think I'm gonna move up and prepare. So I would take another move action to kind of move. And can I take cover?
It is a maneuver to take cover, but you can move. It's narrative, right? So a maneuver in order to move your position XY is very similar to moving your position in order to take cover behind something. You know what I mean? One of them, you're trying to move closer to an enemy, and the other one, you're trying to move around an enemy in order to give yourself some defensive advantage. So we can kind of say that, like, the action is the same. You're basically moving either way. You're either moving to get closer, or you're moving to get cover. In either situation, you're moving through the museum here. So what are you trying to get cover behind? Like, you know, I have this token put behind this large maw of some beast, but you could just as easily take cover where you are behind this little statue that's to your right.
Yeah, I'm going to take cover behind the statue, preparing for, or expecting that the droids are going to fire.
Awesome. Okay, so that's 2 maneuvers. 1 to draw your lightsaber, 1 take cover. You can take 2 strain in order to also do an action.
I don't have any action.
Fair enough. All right, then. So then end your turn on the combat check.
That'll be it.
Yep. Okay, good. So, unfortunately, one of the droidecas rolled through first and simply gets the opportunity to attack. And in so doing, readies 2 built-in heavy blasters towards Eeth, Elaiza, and Kel. Let's see who they hit. This first one, that's going to be Eeth, and this second one is going to be Elaiza. Okay, so against Eeth first, we are at medium range. That's 2 difficulty. We'll upgrade it once, passing a destiny point back to the group. Eeth. Apologies, you should have some stuff here. You should have 16 wound threshold. You should have 14 strain threshold. You should have 2 points of soak, 1 point of melee defense, and 2 points of range defense. Those 2 points of ranged are, of course, going to apply here as the droideca opens up against the Jedi. Oh, and those range defense from the armored ropes really pay off. You know, perhaps with his lightsaber out. Oh, I needed to add another one for the cover you took. And another failure. Okay, so very good. So basically the cover that you take against the droideca prevents Eeth Koth from taking any damage whatsoever. He will, however, open up Eeth Koth a little bit, or perhaps just the whole party, and give a boost die to the second droideca to act. Okay, so we have 2 party actions after the first droideca comes rolling out and firing at Eeth. Who wants to go?
Kel will go next.
Alright, I see that. Very good. What are you doing, Kel?
Kel is to fight to him. We'll ignite his lightsaber and leap into combat.
Awesome. Love it. So you're essentially moving from short to medium, or from medium to engaged, of course. And go ahead. Roll your die as necessary. Love it. The droideca has motivated its propulsion field, this shield that spheres around itself. And so, though it would normally be only 2 difficulty for a check, it's going to be upgraded twice, as well as the 2 defense that this creature has.
All right. And I'll take an aim maneuver.
Excellent. Wow. So tell us how this huge thing hits. Yeah.
So Kel's seeing the other two Jedi being shot at. He leaps through the air, slashing into the droid that just shot at them. And let's see here. So it's going to take... All right, and it's I'm going to crit it. Okay, so did they fix the crit thing, or is it still half? Okay. Oh, I can use the triumph for the crit and add... Actually, use a triumph for something else. I'm going to use one advantage to activate a crit, adding 30 to that.
Excellent. Okay, I love it. So we got the fearsome wound. It's essentially just increasing the difficulty of all presence or willpower checks. And of course, you use the triumph as appropriate. Okay, great. Obviously, the two holocrons are within the hands of Eeth and Elaiza, both of whom are behind the scrum. And so, Bo, you can really use them to hack however you want. You can obviously hinder these two droid echos, or perhaps just assist whomever you want. What do you think here? Significant ability to resist, sort of slicing attempts? And because of that, they've got a little bit of a setback. So let's make it hard, 3 difficulty dice, and 2 setback for your computer's check. The system would sort of malfunction and present some feedback to the holocrons that results in some strain. But you're really able to dictate, are you giving them sort of setback die, or how is the holocron really interacting with these droid echoes?
So I would be scanning to see, since they have their shields up, if there's a way to get past it and relay it to give my team like boost die.
Excellent. So just trying to get away through those shields. Okay. So granting some 2 boost die. Excellent. So we're going to move forward with our enemy's attacks. Going against the party here. The security system is going to take its action first. And I think we're going to describe that through some pretty simple means. And maybe use it to get some distance between this Droid Echo 1 and Kel, who of course has his lightsaber out, and that's a pretty scary thought for these Droid Echoes. Alright, let's see what happens here. Excellent. So suddenly, the security system of the museum itself activates. And as it does, the floor beneath Kel, Eeth, and Elaiza electrocutes, sending shock waves through it. This attack is going to be against each of you in turn. So Kel, this is a melee attack against you. Your armor grants 3 defense die. And some melee attacks, that's going to be 2 difficulty offhand. I'll upgrade this one against Kel, who's closest to these droid echoes. Kel unfortunately takes 9 points of strain from the electrocuted floor. It doesn't drop him. Of course, he's about 11 out of 16. But it takes a significant chunk of his focus away. The same attack is going to be made against Elaiza and Eeth, both of whom have a single point of melee defense from their armored robes. These ones will not be upgraded, but still end up dealing 9 strain to Elaiza, and she is at 12 strain damage of 14, essentially nearly knocked unconscious from the electricity that surges through the red velvet floors. Eeth, similarly, feels a surge of electricity and faces 10 points of strain damage on the veteran Jedi. Unfortunately, Eeth finds himself near the statue. He's already taken cover behind it. And there's actually a small panel there. This panel is an electrical access for the security system. And without thought, Eeth jams his lightsaber into the security system, damaging it significantly, and it turns off for good. Of course, this isn't enough to stop the electrocution of the floors, which already ripples through and assaults Kel, Eeth, and Elaiza. The second droid Echo, empowered by the first, begins to make its attacks. It's got a left arm and a right arm, both of which have these built-in heavy blasters. Its shield already erupts in a sphere around it, and it prepares to attack. I think we rolled a 3 for it, so it's already going to be Elaiza.
It's able to attack?
Why do you say that? I might have forgotten.
I used my destiny point to knock the first one into the second one.
Okay, sorry, I must have missed it. So you knock your first, and then it's perhaps
Maybe it just knocks its aim out of the way or knocks it on side.
let's give it an upgraded difficulty from your triumph. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's at medium from Eeth. Eeth has cover, and it has an upgraded difficulty from your triumph. And Eeth's got cover, and Eeth has a defense from his armored robes. The first blaster pistol fires out. Eeth attempts to dodge behind the statue and is successful, avoiding the attacks of the droid Echo. The second attack comes out all the same, but has the same modifiers and ripples out, this time striking the venerable mentor of Kel for 11 points. And though Eeth is not down, he is hurt significantly. Alright. That is the end of this first round. The several moments that just passed encompassing Eeth and Kel being on this side of the walkway. The walkway having retreated entirely, mechanically and automatically to the door. Elaiza jumps through with her force power, but of course these two droid Echas, one of them entirely wounded, still stand arrayed against you. Who wants to go first here? It's a member of the heroes who gets to move.
Kel's going to try and finish that one off.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Excellent, excellent. The one that he shoved into the other one? Okay, great. Yeah, droid Echo 1. Yeah,
Yep.
I love it.
And you said they have their force field gives them upgrades, 2 upgrades, and 2 setback.
So it's 1 upgrade for their droid. The shield that you're talking about. 2 defense points. And then I'm going to upgrade it once. So it's 2 upgrades and 2 defense points, 2 setback points. But one of them is from the shield, 2 of the setback dice are from it, and then one of them is from me, personally. Yeah. Just so you guys know, I know that the system is so obscure sometimes.
Don't forget the boost dice from my boost.
Yes, thank you. Oh, perfect. Yeah, exactly, right, because the Holocrons have given 2 boost die this turn.
I get 1 or 2?
2 boost die.
Sweet.
Yeah, they got 3 successes. Or I mean, they got 1. They got 2, which is the first one is 1 boost die. Then 2 and 3 are the second boost die. So yep, 2 boost die.
I'm going to take a maneuver to aim. I think that's right.
Die. 4 boost die, couple of challenges. Yeah. Wow. I mean, you're gonna just essentially, if droids were evisceratable, this one's eviscerated, right? So, what does Kel do to get the bonus die, to get the crits, whatever he does?
Yeah, basically going to spend. He's going to activate critical And he's basically going to put 1 extra on the critical, and he's more strained because that shock hurt.
The metagaming in this is a little bit strange, simply because you have all those advantages to suspend. You know what they do. So you can say that, like, the 14 damage with your successes kills the droideka, and then you take a deep breath or whatever the hell and gain those potentially 7 strain back. That's great.
Okay. Actually going to... Actually, just still going to use 4. The other 2 I'm going to use as to give myself a free maneuver.
Awesome. Okay.
To basically go into the... What is it? Hold on 1 second. Not to move up to it, but to... Sorry, I'm looking it up.
That is okay, no worries.
To use my sidestep talent.
And you're going to gain some cover, I assume?
Basically, it upgrades ranged attacks against me for 1 turn.
Oh,
So instead of the setback for cover, it actually upgrades the range attack.
Awesome. Okay, so Kel's being particularly diligent in dodging the volley of attacks coming from this droideka. Okay, great. End your turn. And who wants to go next here? Eeth, Elaiza, Holocrons. Who wants to act?
I guess Elaiza can go. As the electrified floor stopped.
It still simmers with energy. It might release another surge.
Gonna try to climb up onto the display case, so I doubt they're gonna shock their stuff.
Okay, great. To make a 2 difficulty coordination check. Excellent. Okay, I think it's easy to say that though Elaiza makes it up on top of the artifact, she bangs her bangs her head a bit, makes it a hard chance, and then falls upon the artifact as she does, as she's at 14 of 14 strain. So she made it up there, but she's passed out.
At least he's hopefully safe.
Yeah. Alright, Eeth, or of course the Holocrons, get the opportunity to move here. Who wants to go?
Eeth can go.
Alright, great. Select yourself on the combat tracker and tell us what you do.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Of course, what's up?
If Eeth attacked melee with the lightsaber, would the shield completely deflect?
No, the shield adds a couple setback dice, that's the defense. It's also going to upgrade the difficulty of the check, potentially turning a purple die into a red die. That's what the shield does. It basically makes him an adversary and gives him a couple setback die against your attack.
Okay, because that's, I think, what I'm gonna I'm gonna run in an attempt here to make a strike.
Awesome. Go ahead. So it's a maneuver to get from where you were to where you are. So you were at medium range, and you'd like to be at short range. Sorry, it's 2 maneuvers to get from medium range to engaged.
I don't have any weapons in this character sheet.
Oh, unfortunately you don't. That's weird. Let me get you one. Alright, your actions tab should have Elaiza's lightsaber in it now. And that'll be good for you to attack with.
Great, and it is a 2 difficulty, 2 setback.
Two difficulty, 2 setback, and then upgrade it 1 time for the shield. So you're gonna easily hit, dealing 13 damage. And also, of course, the lightsaber is gonna cut through any defenses this creature might have. But tell us how this looks as you jump forward and wield the lightsaber to damage the droideka.
Eeth is very familiar with the use of a lightsaber, knowing that he's fought these droids before. He approaches with confidence and takes a good slice at this droideka.
Excellent. Unfortunately, it gets a few blaster shots off as Eeth approaches, and that's, of course, how Eeth is going to take this strain. So go ahead and end your turn, and that's going to give Bo the opportunity to act here, potentially turning the tides on behalf of the party.
So we're not sure about that electrical force being off, so can I splice into that panel and try to fully disengage it?
Excellent. Okay, make a computers check. It's going to be 3 difficulty, and I'll upgrade it once. And how do you think this sort of goes poorly for these holocrons? Excellent. And so, unfortunately, the holocrons are going to receive a critical hit. The surge of electricity going through the holocrons in Eeth's hands as well as those in Elaiza's. And suddenly, Kel and Eeth, those still conscious of our heroes, feel the missing link of the holocrons and are immediately the remaining droid Echo moves backwards on its insectoid-like feet, taking a single shot towards Kel and a single shot towards Eeth Koth. Kel, of course, having 2 forms of defense. You didn't take any... Oh, you upgraded, right? The difficulty?
Yeah, it's upgraded. Yeah, and then my armor defense.
Awesome. Okay, so 2 defense, 2 difficulty upgraded once for the Droideka's first shot against Kel. That one misses, but will remove Kel's defense as well as upgrade the difficulty of his next attack. The Droideka essentially letting out a volley towards the northwest, and Kel is forced to take cover as opposed to approaching the Droideka. However, Eeth perhaps lunges towards Kel, deflecting several of the gunshots, which impact the Droideka, giving it some strain. Unfortunately, this does not prevent the Droideka from targeting Eeth himself. And this attack will be upgraded by the dark side. Wow. Some poor rolling out of the Droideka saves Eeth, and his own lightsaber deflects the blaster shot off towards the southeast, ending the Droideka's turn and indeed the second round of the combat. Okay, so who wants to go first of our party here? Perhaps ending this.
Well, Kel's gonna leap off from where he ducked behind cover from basically, Eeth jumped in front to block some of the shots. Kel's gonna leap from behind him at the Droideka and try and finish it off. Kel's gonna spend a maneuver to aim. I take an extra upgrade, or an extra defensive upgrade because of its shooting at me last round. Are you gonna upgrade again with the light side point or dark side point?
Nope, we're all good.
Okay. I'm gonna spend a light side point to upgrade.
Awesome.
Oops, it's been 2 instead of 1. Can you put 1 back?
Awesome.
And then using some of the leftovers to clear out some straight.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, taking a brief moment to collect himself. Turning and, of course, seeing Elaiza quite wounded and incapacitated atop the northern artifacts. Eeth Koth, to the north of Kel, seems to be alive, but wounded. Their threats can be seen from the museum, and the heroes are left again in a quiet room.
Right at the end of the combat?
It is. Yep. Vigilance. Exactly. Everybody make that check. It's
Is
simple.
it vigilance or resilient?
Discipline or resilience.
Discipline or resilience, okay.
I'll do that too.
Excellent. Thank you, Casey.
Oh, that's good.
Okay, so each success reduces a strain, I believe. I don't think the advantages do anything.
And the triumph counts as a success, yeah?
So Kel is gonna basically he's gonna toss a stim pack to Eeth and hurry over to Elaiza to make sure she's okay.
And she'll be just waking up now.
Excellent. Okay, just those things. Casey, if you want Eeth to take the stim pack, go ahead and remove the 5 wounds, and that'll be one of the stim pack uses for the day. So, Valid, you're saying Eliza's just waking up on top of these artifacts. What does that look like? Is, of course, your eyes open and see Kel approaching.
She'll probably try to roll to like a sitting position and look towards Kel and say, judging by we're still all here, I'm guessing you beat the droids?
Yes, they're defeated. Are you okay?
And just a bump of the head and a short nap. Nothing to be worried about.
Yeah, that security system shock was not fun.
And how are our holocrons?
All right, let me go check. Like, grab
We're
the
okay.
holocron.
A little worse for wear, but we're okay.
Well, I guess they're gonna know we're here since we destroyed the droids. So maybe stealth and subtlety is
Doesn't need to be observed anymore. Right. Told you we should just use the lightsaber. Now, the other thing is, do we just take the holocron data, or do we make it look like a full-on burglary? That depends on how much you want to cover our tracks. I mean, do you really want any of this stuff? Not really. It looks mostly like garbage, but if we can make it look like someone wants it, maybe that will cover our tracks. And this woman you spoke of, Teresa Lick, maybe it will be thrown off the trail for at least a little bit.
She's pretty smart. I think she'll be able to tell from the droidicas what happened here. But maybe if we take some stuff, she won't know why we were here. I think we should try and get the backup first, and we can grab the other stuff later. If maybe grab a few things and make her think we're after something specific for a reason.
Sounds like a plan.
data is?
Should be in the next room to the east. That's where the holocron was, so I'm assuming that's where the terminal is for it.
Let's hurry off then.
Eeth will take point and help out. Help out with any of the computer checks up ahead.
Awesome. And so the party sort of recovers for a brief moment before moving forward. What they see in the secure part of the museum is kind of strange, as the doors to the vault are open. They approach through the doorway, stepping over the droideka, the bodies of the droidekas, right? And then see the light illuminating from the vault beyond, and the door opened. What do you all want to do?
That's not good. Let's approach with caution.
Well, this might be a good time to test your abilities. Can you sense anything?
Yes, can I? I'll use my sensibility, see if I can sense any life in there.
Awesome. Go ahead. Regular roll.
All right, so I'm able to spend the light side point to use the power.
There are no creatures or any life forms beyond.
Nothing alive, but could be more droids.
All right, let's head in and see if you're right.
So, Casey, you said Eeth sort of leading the way. How exactly does that happen?
I think he would take point and work on any. Is there a door there? Sorry, I just can't see on the map.
At one point, it must have been a vault door, but it's suspiciously open in front of you, raised, allowing entry.
Okay, so Eeth will approach cautiously and peer into the room, lightsaber in hand.
Inside is a circular vault, much like a bank, with reinforced ferro-concrete walls and security countermeasures bustling from the many alcoves within. There's all manner of artifacts, obviously important, jewelry and other sort of historical facets from Spitnir's past, but across the way, Eeth would easily spot a dodecahedral object, very obviously a material copy of the jailer.
Eeth will approach, but is looking around. Can I make a perception check for like any kind of security measures in place?
Sure. Go ahead. Hard perception check. Obviously, you do it particularly well. Some successes, an advantage and a triumph, a little bit of a choice there. How does it all work out? And so, if you think there's a trap, how do you find the trap? And then with the triumph, you could easily disable it too, if that's what the case is. I think Eeth would find a gas dispenser, and of course, the suspicion he has from the door being opened is confirmed as he finds a pressure plate just in front of where he might next step that would release a toxic gas through the vault and close the vault door behind him. How do you think he finds all that out?
Eeth is already highly alert as the vault door was opened, knowing that this was a vault at some point, and there's most likely only one way in or out. There's kind of certain attention paid to the entrance, allowing him to focus his attention in one area and really pay attention closely rather than trying to look through the whole room and scan corners and ceilings and everything else.
So he spots these fans? I'm not sure, like vents that would pour out this gas. And obviously, once the door shuts and there being no place for the gas to escape, any intruder will be pretty much helpless against eventually passing out from it. Eeth identifies the pressure plate in front of him and takes an easy sidestep around it, eventually getting towards the Holocron. Do you want to use the Triumph for disabling it permanently, allowing your allies to enter, or do you want to do something sort of different with it, Casey?
Yeah, I'll disable it permanently and approach the Holocron storage device and pick it up.
Okay, great. So just that, yeah. Eeth Koth goes in front of Kel and Elaiza and does just what Casey described. How about Elaiza and Kel themselves? Do you guys want to do anything?
Eliza's gonna stay back. She's already still woozy from the electrical shock.
Fair enough. What about you, Kel?
Kel's going to go in and, with Eeth, carefully stepping as Eeth noticed and disabled that trap, but looking around to see if he remembers anything different from before. Did anything move? Things have changed? Something that wasn't here, maybe that's a tip-off that something's different.
Okay, fair enough. Why don't you go ahead and give me a hard perception check.
Hard is 4, yes?
3 difficulty dice.
Easy.
Oh no, unfortunately Kel is so distracted by the droideca combat he simply can't point anything out. I don't think you notice anything beyond the obvious, right? Kel just ran into 2 droidecas. There weren't droidecas here before. That walkway, it didn't retract before. You know what I mean? The place wasn't locked down to the public. He's sort of enumerated by so many different changes, he can't lock down any in this vault.
Okay.
So then, Eeth Koth has this holocron in his hands. He's perfectly able to just sort of walk back towards the vault door with it. Is that something that you do, Casey, with Eeth, or you got another plan in mind?
Eeth would look towards Kel and Elaiza and just kind of are we are we looking for more? I know that we talked about ransacking and whatnot. I guess now's the time to do that.
And
I
what
could
is?
the other thought I had is I could see if the holocrons we have right now have any ideas on if we should try to operate or open activate the holocron.
What do you all think about that?
Might not be a bad idea to see if they mess with it any.
Why don't you go ahead and describe sort of what Eeth does here? Go ahead, it's all up to you.
Uh, Beyond just visual inspection, like there's no visual bugs or attachments put on this device. That's where you would start, and then maybe try. I don't know. You guys think we should activate it? I'll try to activate it and
That's a pretty good way to
make
sort
an
of see.
assessment then.
Yeah, exactly right. If you're trying to assess fidelity of some sort of AI program, getting to know, asking it if you knew it's a jerk and you asked it a series of questions and it responds jerkily, you've got a pretty good indication this is the AI you're looking for. So I think that's perfectly fair. Perhaps Eeth just sort of presses a button, for lack of a better word, turning this holographic projection on, and indeed, the image of the jailer, which I know you don't know, Casey, but this Sarian male, very Jedi and austere looking, comes projecting out of the holocron. Eeth and Elaiza and Kel all recognize it for what it is, and then of course Bo, you controlling the holocrons, immediately identify it for a pretty darn good copy of the jailer's AI programming. It might not be perfect with a little bit of a lacking short-term memory from the recent events, but it's as good as you're going to get.
Once we have the copy, do we want to erase it from here?
Eeth would point out that it was actually quite useful that they had the copy, but yeah, I see benefit of both sides.
But it could be dangerous, them having the knowledge of past Jedis.
Yeah, if Teresa Elect knew it was here, maybe she would have just come here to get it. And we would have never known she had some of it.
Yeah, if she had it here already, she would have had to do less work at the temple. It might have taken another holocron. I agree we should have some way to back these things up but we shouldn't just leave it in a museum.
I see your points.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea to scrub their computer systems of it.
And
I think your mic cut out.
sorry, can you hear me now? Kel would tell Eeth that, if he could figure out how they backed up a holocron, maybe he could learn it and we could set something up. Maybe Fen could set something up so that we could back up the holocrons ourselves.
Now, there's a frickin' idea, if I've ever heard one. We've got these holocrons, the other two fully functional ones, right? Under the control of Bo. And he's got a computer skill to use for them. Do you have any idea of how that might work, Bo, to, sort of learn the backing up process and then utilize it in the Dawn Temple?
So I can definitely try to interface with their computers and run kind of like a programming scan to see what steps they took or what kind of programs they have to do so, and then probably copy it over to myself.
Awesome. No, that's really cool. Exactly that. I agree completely. Is that where you're kind of talking about, Trackus? Like, it's sort of the idea you had?
Yes.
Is it good if I use the light side point?
Go for it.
Yes, use it.
Yeah, we got a bunch.
Yay.
Awesome. So clearly you succeed in what you proposed as the benefit for the check. But what do you think the secondary benefit of this special is? Of the Triumph?
So I'm able to get the programming softwares and stuff and simultaneously scrub it from their database, leaving it without a trace for them to try to pull back and reuse.
Awesome. That's pretty dope. So the holocrons copy, the relevant data of the jailer, whatever the museum has, scrubbing it from the museum itself, and of course removing not just the content, but perhaps the trace of the content. So even if a skilled slicer were to try to reconstitute it, they'd have quite a difficult time doing so. And on top of having some of the side benefit of, scrubbing your own presence from the attack. The holocron is in your hands. And even though it's damaged and probably has some memory loss, it may not give you all the details you might be looking for from the attack on the Dawn Temple. But it's a relevant copy with good enough fidelity to ensure that the Dawn Temple continues to serve its purpose in the future battles to come. Unfortunately, though Eeth has the copy of the jailer in his hands, along with the copy of the other holocron that Bo is controlling, from beyond the walls you can hear sirens The same sort of sirens used by stormtroopers when arresting rebel scum. And though they're distant now, these sirens are growing closer by the minute. And it's only now, given the silence beyond the fight, that you hear them clearly. What does everyone do?
Suggest we should get out of here as quickly as possible. I think we can force move ourselves down into the bushes below the bridge and hopefully sneak away.
A great idea. Greg, I think you might have been muted as well.
I don't know, you hear me now? I was just going to basically say the same thing. I think it's time for us to leave.
It's only 2 strain, right? I think Eliza's gonna have to take her time in case she has some trouble getting down. She don't want to be passed out on the ground.
Kel will definitely take the strain to make sure that he gets to the area first and, does a quick look around before everybody else gets there.
Yeah, I think I'll take the strain and move forward, and no one should go anywhere alone, so I will move with Kel.
Okay, and it was hard 3 difficulty? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically you only have to activate the specials if you didn't get any successes. Because you got successes, your backflip works. You don't have to worry about using the force. Sometimes you just succeed narrowly.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Unfortunately, as both of you land you hear the sounds of the sirens even closer, and it's clear that there are security forces converging on this station. Elaiza, you get to jump down. Kel and Eeth, what do you do, during the turn that Elaiza's making that jump?
Well, I think we should forget about the speeder and just head off in a different direction. I think running around the whole place to get back to the speeder is going to take too much time. What do you think? Or one of us could get the speeder and drive it around over here to pick everybody up.
Yeah, I think most likely any security forces are going to be coming in that parking lot area. So it's probably not the safest route out, but I don't know if we have any other way out other than the speeder.
I think maybe more of just hiking to the west through this, these hedgerows, then, get to the city and sort of blend in. Do we think that would work?
You could, lay low. So, there's sort of those two classic options. You either rush to your getaway car and then actually take the time to, flee from the authorities. You could also, and then, potentially you would, in that first option, you might potentially have a chase, right? Where you're fleeing from the authorities who see you being so obvious. In the second classical option, you sort of go to a place nearby, a warehouse, an unused, porta-john, and you hide out for a few hours, waiting for things to cool down, and then you make your escape. It's really up to you guys, what sort of, motif you're going to choose for the flight, right? But either one is totally fine with me. And so, Kel, you're sort of suggesting that you guys go to a nearby place, maybe even in the university complex, go to a basement archive, hang out down there, and you're peeking through the blinds, looking at the cherries as they blast by. You wait until the stormtroopers leave, and then you exit through the window, find your speeder, and you go off into the night. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yep, those sound like the two options.
So what do you think, Elaiza? Or sorry, just hold on. They're valid. We'll get to you in a second. But what do you guys think? What do the Holocrons and Eeth and Elaiza think? Do you want to sort of wait it out, or do you want to just sort of get out of here as soon as possible? Both of which have their own challenges.
Eeth, being a veteran of sorts, is always down for less of a firefight, and laying low, waiting for it to pass sounds like a good option.
Okay, cool. I mean, Bo, do you have any suggestions otherwise to go against it?
Nope. I am at their mercy.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. So, Cal, it's easy enough to say that you're sort of looking around. Maybe you spot on the top couple of levels, it's auditoriums and lecture halls. But on the bottom couple of levels, there's a half level, then a level below it, of basement archives with a open accessible window that you can sort of break through, crawl under, and then have some time to exactly do that, peer through the blinds and make sure that you're not being followed by these stormtroopers. Given that's the case, I think that you, Kel, and Eeth would sort of wave down to Elaiza, being as quiet as you can, as stealthy as you can, and getting the Jedi to jump down after you. Elaiza, thankfully Val's already rolled here. You get 2 failures, not amazing, but you get those 3 advantages, and you do get a bunch of light side pips. Do you want to use a couple of the specials in order to get down without taking any damage, Jacob? Or do you want to just sort of land on your face and call it as it is?
Well, she still has her dignity, so she'll spend those specials.
Awesome. So give me 2 light side, drag off 2 light side chits for those, and then essentially you'll utilize that move force power to levitate Elaiza down, even though her own backflip wasn't that great. So suddenly, all, quote unquote, 4 of you, really 5, and 6 with the new jailer, are down upon inside the bushes around the Museum of Relez. You can hear the sirens erupting from around you, each in different directions. And Kel, having pointed out the basement to the archive, dashes towards there. And, given that Eeth and Elaiza are pretty darned accomplished Jedi, they make their way over to the basement, dashing within, breaking the window as each one of you slide. And not a moment before, a couple of dozen stormtroopers begin to break into every possible entrance of the museum, breaking windows and doors as they do so, slicing through security measures as needed, and rushing through in typical militaristic style, clearing the building floor by floor, room by room. Within a half an hour of that happening, you see the governor of Spitnir herself, Governor Hall, a fairly high up Imperial appointee, doing a tour of not only the museum but her own residence. It's only due to Imperial haughtiness that they don't find you. Instead of looking through every building in the university itself, they spend most of their time searching the museum and the manor itself, not actually looking for any of the areas beyond. It's that allows the crew of the Gamorra to eventually escape the basement once the stormtroopers are aligned east. And they, of course, go west, waiting at a cantina, food carts, general markets, any sort of, large scale, lots of people around marketplace that can hide their presence, going where the people are. And given that it's, at this point it's the evening and the lights are fading and the street lights are coming on, the party has a particularly easy time sort of going through to the civilians of Relez, hiding themselves, eventually returning near midnight to their land speeder, and then driving out of the capital into the plains of Spitnir, taking a winding route to ensure that any prying eyes do not see them heading towards the Dawn Temple, and they move just that direction back to the force of good there.
Before we leave, Kel would ask Eeth and the Holocrons to have a look over the speeder and see if there's any tracking devices on it before we leave town.
Awesome. Okay, great. Yeah, perfect. So I think you guys make a good enough change of it to come back to the Holocron after a long enough time where there's no time crunch. You know what I mean? You're not looking over the land speeder while there's near All right, so Kel takes the time to look over the thing. Go ahead, Kel. So we'll just call it an average 2 difficulty mechanics check to ensure everything's up to snuff.
Yep.
Exactly. No, I love it.
I've been around Fen long enough to know. Check it out beforehand because we've gotten bit by it before.
Unfortunately, the hood of the land speeder Fen does bang his head against it once in trying to rush against the patrols of Stormtrooper. But Cal doesn't find any tracking devices within it. There were a couple other land speeders, both of them nicer than the one that you brought here, that were sort of like flanking your own land speeder when you parked it at the museum and the university. And those haven't really moved at all. It seems like there's, just potentially enough in and out of the university to sort of dictate that your land speeder was here.
Looks clear.
But Cal would still be sort of aware that he didn't do the greatest check of it all. If any of the other characters wanted to do a run, they could. Excellent. And so, what do you think? What do you think the holocrons would sort of do here to check this land speeder? How do you think it would sort of look and interact?
Maybe Kel overlook some areas that we would have looked at, and we kind of be asked to kind of spread ourselves to each side of the land speeder to get more coverage to look.
Excellent. Cool. So roll the same check, mechanics, 2 difficulty. Take a deep breath. The holocrons would relieve some advantage, relieve some strain with their advantage. But I think the land speed is just a little bit too basic for them. They're a little bit too advanced for the subroutines of the land speeder, and it's just simply below their abilities. That being said, the holocrons are positive. There is no tracking device within the land speeder itself. Fair enough. So, Cal, you are piloting this land speeder out, or into the city. Are you still piloting it out? And if you are, I'm going to need an average piloting planetary check and a description of how that planetary check gets you out of the city, avoiding the stormtroopers and, sort of any, traffic jams, etc., that might come in your way.
Well, we obviously run into a traffic jam.
Perfect cover.
Exactly.
Again, flying as normal like anybody else would. We get in a traffic jam. We don't, we don't try to rush away or speed away like we're, criminals busting out of it. We just, sit and wait like everyone else.
The main goal here is to avoid, well, I assume sort of the main goal is to avoid any Imperial entanglement at the Dawn Temple. Getting out of the city is almost secondary to just sort of making sure the Dawn Temple is safe and that the future of the Jedi Order is maintained. And so Kel, in failing, isn't failing in escaping without that being known. He's failing in making it an easy time without a lot of hassles. So I think we can easily say that you get into the land speeder, blasting off with Eeth and Elaiza each holding the holocrons, and of course, Eeth holding the second holocron, the jailer. Its returned sort of form, soon to be reinvigorated by its restoration of the Dawn Temple. Eeth winds his way into a traffic jam of the exodus of Relis to the outer burbs during the late evening that happens in most weekdays. And during that time, there's of course checks and stops of the stormtroopers being aware of the attack on the Imperial Manor. Of course, those stops are still in a huge, sprawling capital with a limited number of stormtroopers, and so given enough patience and no real timer, Kel just maneuvers around the stops, going into alleys, markets, flea markets, and other sort of things as needed in order to avoid the stormtrooper presence, eventually making his way into the fields of Spitner, the plains surrounding Relis, and around towards Mount Teliak and back towards the Dawn Temple, arriving late in the evening, but not being spotted by the stormtroopers themselves.
Well, all things considered, that went well.
I guess, besides the electric floor.
I mean, we're still here.
I suppose so. How's it compared to your previous visit to the museum?
We're still here.
Fair enough.
They put in some new security measures with those droids in that walkway and that electric floor. I don't remember that either.
Suppose we should get these holocrons hooked back up.
Yes, now that we're back, hopefully they'll be happier again. And with the knowledge they've learned, if once Fen gets back, we could probably ask her if she can help us set up some type of backup for ours.
I like that idea. Like, maybe Fen can... Because, remind me if I'm wrong, Ballad, but you had the idea of sort of beginning to move the asteroid base back towards Spitner anyway. Yeah, okay. So even though that, might require some retrofitting of a hyperspace drive onto the asteroid base, it's possible.
Yeah, I think we were going to salvage that from that ship we blew up.
Exactly, the Corellian Corvette that you destroyed. Yeah. Yep. Given that it was in similar size to the asteroid base. Cool. So no, I really like that. So, while this sort of Elaiza, Eeth Koth, Holocron adventure was happening with Kel, the other portions of the crew were returning, setting up Fenn's asteroid base, and then once set up, we're quickly moving to secure the Gamora and bring it back to Spitnir. Obviously, a lot faster than the asteroid base is capable of moving. It's probably hyperdrive class 4, while the Gamora is class 2, so quite slower.
Yeah, we'll get there eventually.
Exactly, right? So, cool. And so Kel retrieves the holocron of the jailer, the curator, and the warden, with the help of Kel, Elaiza, and Eeth, set up the jailer itself, restoring much of its knowledge. It's a pretty interesting thing, though. So, like, Casey had this fun sort of conversation with me where she was like, what is a holocron? And I'm like, it is in and of itself a hard drive. What it holds is always kind of special and weird. Like, some holocrons are essentially AI programs or whatever. Some are repositories of ancient Jedi techniques, or you know what I mean. Like, it's a hard, but the holocron itself is essentially a hard drive of information. A database or something like that. And so with the restoration of it, you're still restoring the security systems, the encryption, and of course the general functionality of the Dawn Temple. The door is now open when you stand in front of them, the lights turn on when you're in a room. All these sorts of minor details are activated because of the presence of all 3 holocrons. Kel. Eeth would have a sort of heart-to-heart with the Pantoran Jedi. Once the jailer was restored to the Dawn Temple, and then once the Dawn Temple was restored to full functionality. As Kel learned a few weeks ago, the Dawn Temple was essentially attacked not only by Teresia, but also by a surge in the dark side. This surge in the dark side caused the Dawn Temple's defenses to lower and allowed Teresia's forces, among them the resurrected General Grievous and King Necrosis, to come back and attack the Dawn Temple, ensuring that Ravnaron escaped. This comes from the Verge and the Force that Kel interacted with previously during his training years ago. What Eeth and Elaiza presume and sort of put forth is that this Vergence and the Force has been manipulated by Teresia, and that only through his own sort of interference with the Vergence will it stop, and these sort of strange occurrences like the holocrons being defeated and Teresia's access cease. What they propose is that Kel go and restore the Vergence of the Force.
How can you restore something like that?
I had thought emergencies just happened.
And while that is true, there is clearly some manipulation that Teresia has done to Mount Teliak to manipulate the energies of the galaxy and force the dark side into a dominant spectrum. All we ask is that since Kel is so connected to these other members of the Gamorra, the Force clearly having a destiny for each of you in turn, is that once your companions return, you and they go to the Virgins and stop whatever Teresia has done. We would never ask you this alone, as even though your training nears completion, this Virgins clearly has more to do than just Kel. It also involves this Chadra Fan and even this Belisar and Wookiee that Kel has become involved with. It's important that each of you in turn faces whatever darkness the Virgins encompasses and defeats it in turn. Otherwise, Spitnir can never be free, and the Dawn Temple with it, and thus the rebellion and all of that might never gain the benefits.
Mm-hmm. And Kel's more than willing to try, and
Excellent. Awesome. Yep, that's sort of it. It's just that Eeth and Elaiza believe that whatever is happening here with Teresia and any of your collected enemies involves this Virgins and involves Spitnir. And so it would be inappropriate to send Kel himself against it, but would rather require the fall of the crew of the Gamorra to really fully defeat.
just teach me on what I need to do once I get there.
Pretty darn much. Awesome. Well, that is what I've got for tonight. I think it's fair to say that you guys have earned 10 experience points for the system to increase your characters. Not these characters themselves, but of course, Fen, Telly, Tarkasa, and Kel.
Her actual character.
Yes, the characters you made. Yep, exactly that. And get to moving those ahead. Everyone, I truly thank you for taking a part and watching our Star Wars adventures. It was an incredible pleasure to stream for you and to, of course, move forward with the campaign. I hope to see you all in 2 weeks' time, and we'll get forward with what happens with Kel, Tarkasa, Telly, and
and Fen. Thank you so much for shooting. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks, everybody.